everyone, I hope you're all doing well. Today I thought that I would start a video about mental health. This is something that I struggle with regularly, and it's definitely gotten worse since being sick. And this is something that I know a lot of other people who are chronically ill struggle with as well. I feel like at times mental health is even more important than physical health. So this video is going to be pretty raw and pretty real. I'm actually kind of hoping that my family doesn't see this just because I don't know. I don't really tell them how much I can be struggling mentally. I might give like a little bit of details, but there was a time that I was struggling a lot and I didn't really speak to anybody about it. I'm just more of the person who, if I'm struggling on the inside, I just will let that sit and marinate. Is that the correct word? I don't know, but I won't really take action on it. I won't speak about it. I just kind of will just hope that it will go away if I just ignore it. And then obviously that will make things a lot worse. So that is something that I'm definitely working on, that I have been working on for probably about a year now. When you have a chronic illness, your entire world is basically just flipped around. It affects simple everyday things like brushing your teeth. It can affect washing your hair, things like hygiene and keeping your home clean and going to work, and just any little simple thing can be just ripped apart. It is very hard to have a body that looks completely healthy on the outside, and you go out in public and nobody has any clue at all that you're struggling so much on the inside, struggling with your health, struggling to stay standing, struggling to come home and shower. It takes a huge toll on you mentally, having an invisible illness, because nobody sees it and everybody just assumes that you're perfectly healthy. If you vent about it, they just kind of will blow you off because they can't see it. They don't know that it's there unless you talk about it. It's very easily forgotten because you don't see it. It's just this invisible thing, and a lot of people can think that it's just all in your head. When you're searching for answers, when you have a chronic illness and you still don't know what's going on yet, a lot of times doctors will tell you it's all in your head, and it's just this mental battle that you have with yourself, and then you also have a battle with the doctors and anybody who's not listening to you. It's very hard when you go and try to find help and try to find out what's wrong with you. And the people who are supposed to help you and supposed to help you find answers just look at you up and down, think, oh, you're a skinny, healthy young woman. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you. Here's some antidepressants. Here's some anxiety medication. That is a very hard thing to go through when you can't work, when you go sometimes a week or two without showering because you are just so physically and mentally drained and you cannot handle it. And mentally it's very hard to know that you can't work. I feel like for me it's also hard because it seems that is kind of an intermittent thing for me. When I first got sick, I was working full-time and I was working a desk job. I was a receptionist at a law firm, and out of nowhere, I could not do it anymore. It was too exhausting. It was too draining. My body couldn't handle it. My mind couldn't handle it. And so I had to quit. And then what I ended up doing was just basically sleeping all the time. I would sleep. It's almost like my body was trying to make up for all the energy that I was using when I was working. Probably within maybe 6 months of quitting my job, I ended up going to nannying part-time. That was great. I loved the kids. It was still a lot physically. I didn't know why I was having palpitations. I didn't know why I would be so short of breath from cleaning up after the kids and stuff like that. It's just, I still had no idea what was going on with my body. I did end up getting let go from the job just because they felt like daycare was the best at the time. It wasn't anything personal for me, and it's okay because I probably needed a break anyways. But I ended up accepting a job at a call center a couple months later. It was very hard to find a job at that time. So I ended up accepting a job at a call center. I figured, hey, I'm gonna be sitting all day long. I feel like I'm doing a little better than I was before. Maybe this is just a better job for me. But unfortunately by that time, I was having a lot more triggers for my health. You know, things like fluorescent lights, which are in most office buildings, would make me feel sick. Things like sitting all day, even though standing makes me feel sick, sitting all day makes me feel sick too. It's just, I still had so much to figure out. And so within probably about 2 weeks, I ended up having to leave that job as well because I just couldn't do it. My heart rate was just too high. Last January, I did end up, after probably about a month after quitting that job, I ended up working at a law firm, and that job was great. I loved it. I loved the coworkers. I loved everything. I got a lot of PTO, which was amazing. If you have a chronic illness and you are still working, you're still pushing through, you're still fighting, to have that sense of dignity. Props to you, first off, because that's definitely not easy. Try to find a job that can suit your needs, and also if you can find a job that has a lot of PTO for doctor's appointments and stuff, that's great as well. So long story short, it was a great job. I really tried to stick it out. I was able to get most of my diagnoses while I was working at that job, so that was a little helpful, trying to, you know, figure out what helped and what didn't while I was in a working environment, if that makes sense. But unfortunately, I did end up having to leave in early May. Again, I just couldn't handle it. I was doing okay. I was doing, you know, the best that I probably could at the moment. I was doing pretty decent for what I was dealing with all my symptoms every day. I stuck it out for as long as I could. But again, it's just the longer I kept going on, the longer I kept pushing and going to work every single day and using what little energy that I had on working, and even just sitting at a desk all day, you know, that really, it takes energy. You wouldn't think that it would, but it does. It takes a lot of energy, at least when you're sick. And so eventually I just crashed. I made the mistake of starting school within that time, and that is obviously very mentally draining. So not only was I very close to running on empty mentally, I was definitely past running on empty physically. So I was there for about 1.5 years, and I ended up having to quit. So that is a huge thing that definitely can take a toll on your mental health, is jobs and working and just trying to find your place in that sense, and trying to learn what your body can handle, and just not feeling like you're worth it because you can't work a full-time job. Your body can't take it, your mind can't take it, and it's just too much. That's definitely something that I struggled with mentally. It made me feel kind of worthless. It's like, if I can't work, if I can't clean the house, if I can't even shower, like, why am I here? That's exactly how I felt. It's just, why am I here? Like, what's my point of being here? So obviously working, not being able to see friends, not being able to put in time to your home and your self-care and all of that, that definitely takes a toll on you mentally, and just it can make you feel worthless. I felt very worthless. Going back to the beginning, when I had to quit my first job and I was basically sleeping all the time, I would have panic attacks sometimes. I didn't know what they were at the time, and I remember that the very first one I had, I didn't know what to do. I was crying, just wondering, like, why is this happening to me? What did I do to deserve this? What did I do to deserve being in pain and being bedridden? Because I was practically bedridden at the time. So I ended up basically having a mental breakdown. I was hyperventilating. I ended up losing my vision. I couldn't see anything at all. My hands and my chest and the tip of my nose were numb. They felt very tight and like they were gonna cramp up. I was sitting in bed and my hands just were stuck like this. Like, I did not know what to do. They weren't moving. I couldn't see anything. I was freaking out. I ended up calling my dad. He was a nurse for a very long time. He's been in the medical field. So I didn't know what to do. I was just like, okay, I'm gonna call my dad. Like, I don't know what to do. So I ended up calling him, and he basically just like calmed me down. He tried to, you know, walk me through it. He said, okay, you're having a panic attack. Just try to breathe slowly, try to relax. So unfortunately, that wasn't the last time I had a panic attack. I had a couple more, I believe. I cried a lot. I was so depressed. In high school, for a little while, I did have an eating disorder. My parents were going through a very messy divorce, and it was just, that was my way of coping. I don't know why. Being at a low point mentally, it did trigger my eating disorder. I didn't act on it that much. I was very vocal about it with my husband, and he helped me with that, of course. But that was another thing that I had to struggle with at the time too. So during this time I felt very alone. I didn't know what was going on. My friends, practically hated me because I would have to cancel on plans all the time, and it's just, it's very hard to explain what's going on when you don't know what's going on yourself. It's very hard for people to try and put themselves in your shoes when they haven't been there themselves. So that definitely puts a lot of strain on my friendships, which just obviously kind of fed into the depression and all that. So eventually I did get out of that rut enough. I definitely didn't handle it like I should have. I feel like throughout this entire journey, I guess you could say, I probably should have seen a psychiatrist, but I wasn't really trusting doctors at the moment, so I don't know. I didn't see one. I didn't think that it was going to be worth it. I didn't think that they would believe me. I figured they would just, again, pull the whole anxiety card, so I didn't see anybody about it. I had tried a couple antidepressants and they didn't help. I tried Xanax and it just, it just numbs you out. So I would really just try to take that when I was very, very, very anxious or when I couldn't sleep at all. So I pretty much just like shoved all those feelings in a hole, and eventually they came out about a year later. So going back to summer 2018, I was really struggling mentally. I don't know what it was. I had just gotten married in March and I was very happy with that. I was very happy in my marriage, but my health was declining already. I was dealing with a lot mentally, and I don't know why or what triggered it, but basically all the feelings that I was dealing with a year before decided to come up out of nowhere, and so then I had to deal with those feelings and all these different thoughts that I was having mentally, and so I quickly just was thrown into a pretty strong depression again. At this time it was definitely more severe in the sense that I was having suicidal thoughts. It's just clockwork. You wake up, you go to work, you eat dinner, and then you go to sleep. And that's just every single day. And then on the weekend, what do? You might go get dinner or something, and then you just pass out. You're just resting the entire weekend, trying to recover from the past week and trying to save energy for the upcoming week, even though you're not gonna have it. You're not gonna have the energy. Well, long story short, I had to go to the store and go pick up a bridal shower gift, and on the way there, I was just thinking the absolute worst. And I was just thinking, why am I here? What is my purpose here? I might not even be able to have kids with whatever's going on with my body. Society makes women think that they have to not only work full-time, but also keep the house completely clean, and the husband shouldn't have to touch anything, It's just, I was struggling a lot mentally with how my chronic illness had affected my health. I knew that there was something else wrong going on, but I didn't know exactly what. And so that whole drive to the store, I was just, telling my husband, like, why am I even here? Like, you deserve so much better. Oh God, hang on. I was just telling him, you deserve so much better. Like, you deserve someone who can keep the house clean, someone who can take care of our dogs and go to work and come home and have dinner made for you and just stuff like that. It's really something that I know a lot of women struggle with mentally when they get sick. You just feel like you're still held to that standard of having everything taken care of for your husband, and obviously you're kind of scared that if you don't get better, if you don't act healthy, then your husband could leave you and find somebody healthy and just someone who can essentially take care of them. But men can take care of themselves too. So luckily my husband, he did calm me down. He reassured me that we just got married, he's in it for life. He wouldn't leave me for being sick. He wouldn't leave me for anything like that. He married me for me, whether I'm sick or not, and he's gonna be there for me the whole time. So he definitely helped me with that. And so when I got home, I was wanting to watch Twilight for some reason. I don't know why. And so he had Twilight on. He lit some candles. He had dinner ready, and we had all these blankets laid out and my pajamas laid out and everything, just so that I could get cozy and we could just cuddle up and just relax. So honestly, I don't know where I would be without my husband. I've even told him multiple times, you know, if I didn't have you, I probably wouldn't be here. It's just so much. It's just so much to try to handle and try to balance out. There's a lot of different things that affect you mentally when you have a chronic illness. You feel like you let everybody down. You feel like you're worthless. You feel like a failure. You continue to wonder where you went wrong, even though you know that you didn't do anything wrong. This just happens to some people. Sometimes it's in your genes. Sometimes something causes it to come out. Like for me, it was a sinus infection. And so in reality, it can happen to anybody, but nobody sees it that way. Nobody thinks this can happen to me tomorrow. This can happen, you know, to my best friend. They just kind of, oh, you're sick. Okay, like you can go away now. We're just not treated how we should be, I guess you could say. You feel very guilty for not being able to keep up with life and always canceling on your friends. And you feel guilty for a lot of things. You feel guilty, you feel judged, you just... It's a lot to handle. You think that it's hard having to deal with everyday symptoms, but sometimes the mental battle is a lot more difficult. And I haven't felt like myself for a very long time. Obviously, I still try to get back to being myself, but that's difficult. I don't think that's something that's achievable at this point, but there's some aspects that I would like to get back. I've lost a lot of myself throughout this journey, throughout the past few years, and I have changed as a person, and there's some things that I'm not proud of, but that's life, and you learn from it and you move on. And unfortunately, this is something that I'm gonna have to deal with for the rest of my life, unless enough awareness gets out there and then there's a cure. And I hate to be negative, but I don't think that that's something that's gonna happen anytime soon. So at this point, I'm just really trying to regain little pieces of myself that I lost throughout this whole journey, throughout this whole mess. I'm trying to stay positive, which, you know, everybody says be positive, but it's not that easy all the time. It's very hard to stay positive on a topic that you know is going to be your entire life. It's hard to be positive and think that you're gonna feel better someday, you're just gonna wake up and you're gonna be cured, when that's just not really the reality of it. People would just kind of look at you and say, oh, you're still sick? And it's like, yeah, it's chronic. You know what chronic means? It's chronic. It's basically for the rest of my life. So yeah, I am trying to stay as positive as I can, that my medication will continue to work and do its job in keeping my POTS in remission. I know that I made that video being all happy and everything, but unfortunately I do still have a lot more struggles to deal with, just because I have one chapter, I don't want to say closed, but paused, I guess, in my chronic illness life. Unfortunately, that didn't close everything off. I still have the majority of my symptoms. I still have a lot of pain. I still have nausea. Today I'm pretty nauseous. It's not fun, but I still do have fatigue too. Every morning is still a struggle. It's not nearly as bad, but I still struggle every day, and I just wanted to make that clear, because I'm in no way cured. I'm in no way, you know, getting back to where I was before I got sick. Unfortunately, getting back to where I was before I got sick is probably not gonna happen, but I'm trying to still accept that. I'm trying to still accept that my life is different now, and I'm trying to still accept the fact that I have a lot to learn with my illness and a lot to learn with my symptoms and what triggers them, and also trying to accept the fact that, you know, I'm very horrible at keeping the house clean, and with me being on the Dysautonomia, it's giving me the opportunity to be able to go ahead and be cleaning the house and trying to get everything organized. But one thing that I've struggled with a lot is I just cannot focus. I can't focus on anything. It drives my husband crazy because, sorry, I just love him. It drives my husband crazy because I will wash some dishes and then I'll go and fold some towels, and then I'll go and make the bed and go and do this and that. And so I am exhausted at the end of the day because I was cleaning the house, at least in my eyes. But then my husband comes home and it looks like no different because I never completed a full task. So I think it's my brain fog. I'm definitely need to meet with my doctor about that and try to figure out a way to fix that. I'm also trying to accept the fact that I'm pretty weak. I have no muscle at all, so I'm trying to work out and build that muscle back. Not that I had much before, but I'm just trying to regain strength mentally and physically. I feel like working out helps with my pain, although it also causes pain. It is definitely worth it for me personally to work out, and since I have the chance to now, I'm going to try and get a regular routine and knock that out. I'm trying to focus on any positives that I do have in my life. I'm grateful that I have my husband. I'm grateful that if I have a crappy day, he's always there for me. I'm grateful that I have my parents. I talk to them both every single day. I'm grateful that I'm able to work from home right now, and that has also brought me and my dad closer because I do work for him. Although I'm grateful that I do have people that I'm able to help through social media. It is hard sometimes to be giving out all this energy to other people and not having much energy for me. It is hard to be giving and giving and giving and having so many hands to reach out to other people and knowing that you only have a few back for yourself. So I am trying to take social media breaks. I'm trying to still respond to you guys as often as I can, but if it takes me a little while, just know that I probably just needed a little break. But I'm still very grateful that I have the opportunity to do this. I'm trying to accept a lot of different things, a lot of changes in my life. It is definitely hard to see people who are out being nurses and, you know, being doctors and stuff, and knowing that unfortunately at this point, like, that's probably not something that I'm going to be able to do. It's hard to see people getting pregnant and having their first child and knowing that if I wasn't sick, if things went a different way, then that would most likely be me right now. And it's hard to know that when that does happen for me, I'm most likely going to be high risk. I'm most likely going to have a C-section, which I say that I want a C-section. I don't want a C-section. Nobody actually wants one. I'm just trying to accept the fact that most likely that's going to be my case. I'm probably going to have one. I'm trying to accept the fact that it's probably going to be a difficult journey on its own. I'm most likely going to have to inject myself twice a day so that I don't lose the baby, and the farther along I get in my pregnancy, there is going to be a higher risk of losing the baby and a higher risk for myself and my own body as well. So it's just a lot to take in, it's a lot to accept. I'm trying to accept the worst and educate myself as much as I possibly can, just in case. Can't believe I actually cried in this video, but apparently it was needed. If you're struggling mentally, please just know that you're not alone. Please try to get help, whether that be talking to family and friends or your significant other and venting. If you feel like you need even more help, please see a psychiatrist, please see your doctor, let them know how much you're struggling, be as honest as you can, and don't feel guilty, don't feel like you're being a wuss because you're struggling mentally. Ending up with illnesses that you're going to have lifelong, that is a struggle on its own. You have every right to be upset about it, you have every right to be grieving your past self and grieving your past life and everything, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. But I think I'm going to end this video here. I'd love to hear your experience with how your mental health has changed since being sick, so please leave a comment down below to let me know. Please give this video a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.